What's going on, guys? It's Kyle from Canuck and Nuts, and I mentioned on the Instagram story not too long ago that I wanted to start like a podcast, kind of just talk hockey. So we're going to start this up. We're just going to talk about what happened so far with free agency, the draft for the Eastern Conference teams. So starting off, interesting day yesterday for free agencies. This is when I'm being recorded, so saw an offer sheet. Been a while since we've seen an offer sheet, and it was perfect that this online just went like this. So, in case you aren't aware, it's the Montreal Canadiens signing Sebastian Aho to a 5-year offer sheet. So Carolina has now 6 days now to try and renew it. I think they are going to do it the way they're portraying it. But Montreal, I gotta say, good work on them for actually going through with the offer sheet. This year being a lot of the RFAs have a big year. But so let's see what happens. I hope Carolina signs Aho, because that's like their franchise, kind of, not Forsay, all their franchise, but he's like their main young guy. But staying in the Atlantic Division, good on. I'm a Sens fan, and I'm not going to be biased, but good on Toronto yesterday to shed a lot of cap. They traded Zaitsev to Ottawa for Cody Ceci, Ben Harper, and Aaron Lachuk. Ottawa got back Connor Brown, Zaitsev, and then they signed Hainsey and Connor Brown. Veteran guy, or they signed Tyler Ennis. Sorry, good veteran guys for them to help with the young guys. But for Toronto, though, they also were able to, later that night, they traded Nazem Kadri, and I don't remember the prospect quite top off my head, but they got Tyson Barrie, who Colorado also retained 50% of their cap, and Alexander Kerfoot, plus a draft pick. That's a good trade for Toronto. They got a top right-hand D now, so Riley and Barrie will probably be their first line. The only problem I have with it, though, is I know they had to take Kerfoot probably for salary cap reasons. But you have to sign Kerfoot, who's an RFA, and he's probably going to get at least $3 to $4 million, which still leaves you with $7 to $8 million remaining. So, Toronto fans, you let me know, how are you guys still going to sign Marner? That's my one question I keep asking, is how you guys are going to sign Marner. You guys you should be signing him, or unless, we all know the Islanders are a possibility for Marner. Besides the fact, though, Toronto, good. I'd give you guys probably an A for yesterday. To the Metro, though, while I think of it, Artemi Panarin stays in the Metro, going to the Rangers. A lot of people thought that because the Rangers were only going to give him the one contract, they weren't going to make shift or change anything else. But he goes there for 11.64, I believe. But good for the Rangers rebuild, because I know 2 years ago they said to their fans they're going to be rebuilding, so expect it to take a while. They traded the likes of McDonough and Zuccarello, but in a span of just I'd say probably not too long, that team acquired the second overall pick, which ended up being Capo Caco, so they got a great player in the draft after moving up a lot. They get Panarin, they got Trouba, they got Fox. So their rebuild went pretty quickly, in my opinion. I think they could compete for a wild card spot next year. No complaints there. The other surprise, though, in the Metro is got to be New Jersey. So they won the Jack Hughes sweepstakes, got first overall. And then no trades much for the first day of the draft, which was weird to say the least, because you always hear about a trade happening that day. But the second day, they made the big splash and got PK Subban from Nashville. And they didn't give up a first. They only gave up a couple seconds. And, I keep forgetting already. Steve Santini and a prospect. So right there, Ray Shero not afraid to make the big splash. Then yesterday, they also went out and acquired Wayne Simmons for 1 year, $5 million. Not a bad contract. I know I heard Bob McKenzie and company saying that it's kind of like a prove me contract, trying to show that he's still in fine form, because I know he struggled in Nashville last year after the deadline. So it's good on them. Like I said, I could see them competing for maybe a wild card spot. If not, they're just outside. Trying to think what else in the Metro. Sorry, off the top of my head, I kind of just woke up not too long ago. Not too much left in the Metro, no surprise. Semyon Varlamov going to the Islanders, replacing Robin Lehner. Surprising to say the least. You think that after a good season last year, winning the Masterson that Robin Leonard would come back into that team, but no, he ended up signing with Chicago, which we'll talk about in another episode. We're going to do the Western Conference, just a video by themselves. Andres Lee also stays though for $7 million for 7 years. I know there was talk that he was possibly on the way out, but they also wanted to see what was going to happen with the Panarin situation because they were on Panarin. But they keep their captain, so I know right there you see John Tavares. He left last year as the captain. They don't lose their captain this year. So that's good for them. Boston not making too many moves as well. They got some minor guys. McAvoy, so going to the RFAs now that I just thought of it. So for the Eastern Conference, especially in the Atlantic Division, there's a couple names right there that are still standing out. So for Toronto, obviously Mitch Marner still without a contract, day number 2. Going to take a couple days though, obviously. He should be signing for 10. Everybody expects him to ask for not Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews money, so that's about $11 million. I don't see Toronto. I know you guys love Marner. I think he's better than Matthews, TBH. But you got to find money for him. You can't just load. You're going to load up 3 players at $11 million, plus Nylander at 7, and then Riley's up next year. So I know it's probably going to hurt for Leaf fans to hear me say this, but if I'm Kyle Dubas, do I look for a trade possibly for Nylander, or do I look for a trade for Marner? Probably Nylander because you're going to get a little bit for the salary cap constraints, but if you trade him now, you're not going to give up much. But you need to find something to do with Mitch Marner. Staying in the Atlantic, though, moving over to Tampa, Braden Point's the other one. Great first year. Great year just in general for him this year. In my opinion, I think he could earn at least an 8. I'd give him at least an 8, 8.5. Obviously, other teams, though, easily could give up more. As well in Boston, Charlie McAvoy needs a contract. I'd give him... I'm thinking off the top of my head. Like, I would probably give Charlie Coyle maybe the Erik Karlsson treatment Ottawa gave him when he was he got his first contract. Like, I know Charlie McAvoy is good, don't get me wrong, but maybe kind of like, hey, help the team, do the team friendly deal for the 5 years if he wants the 5, not the 8. And then we can still bring in good talent while we're still good with Bergeron, Pasternak, Marchand and company. And then after, we could talk about a long $10, $11 million contract. Just trying to think more of the Eastern Conference RFAs. Ottawa has a couple that hopefully they're gonna sign, i.e. Shabbat. Ottawa, get on that. Shabbat, I do the same thing. Give him a 6. We need to hit the cap floor, so give him a nice contract, 5 to 6 years, whatever he wants, because he is your corner, he is your franchise besides Brady Tkachuk. Give him the money, give him the year he wants, and that you're gonna have to, obviously he's not the next coming of Karlsson, but he is gonna have to fill in the role for Karlsson. So give him what he wants. He is worth his money, in my opinion. And Colin White's another one we need to get signed. I don't know what the weight is for Dorian, but we need to get on that for Ottawa. Just trying to think any more of the Eastern Conference teams. Other ones I know. Oh, how could I forget this one? Not a free agent pickup, but it was a surprise. Not a surprising trade, but it was just the way it unfolded. Phil Kessel's not a Penguin anymore. He is a Coyote. Traded to Arizona with a prospect for Alex Galchenyuk and Pierre-Olivier Joseph, I believe that's his name. So not surprising, but you knew it was coming at some point that a Phil Kessel trade. Jimmy Rutherford and him had a war of words after, Phil saying that Rutherford told him he'll never be a Penguin again. But we also know he had difficulties getting along with the likes of Malkin and Coach Sullivan. But good, fresh start for him. Galchenyuk on his 3rd team in 3 years. And then they get a good defenseman in Joseph. Once again, I'm just trying to think of a lot of players that are still available. I mean, Panik goes to Washington. That's just a nice depth pickup. Philly already did their drafting and trading way before the draft with Braun coming and Niskanen coming. But I think that's it, guys, that I can think of off the top of my head. Oh, jeez, I almost forgot the one. My apologies, guys. I need to get another shootout going on. Can't believe I forgot about this one. Where is the team? Got to load it up. This team might be fun to play with in NHL 20. Just because they made a couple moves yesterday. So for a team that I realize, I believe if I'm right, only has made the playoffs twice in the past 20 years, the Florida Panthers go out and sign the big goaltender, Sergei Bobrovsky, to a nice $10 million contract for 7 years. They also got Anton Strawman and Noel Achari. I'm trying to think, they did not pick up anybody else. But so for Florida, this Atlantic Division with goaltenders, there's 3 good goaltenders I can think right now off the top of my head. You got Carey Price, Andrei Vasilevsky, you got now Sergei Bobrovsky, you got Tuukka Rask, now I'm thinking of it. You got Frederik Andersen. I'll throw that in for you Leaf fans. I got Montreal. You got Ukko-Pekka Lehkonen coming up for Buffalo. Ottawa, you got a couple goalies. I'm not going to dive in too much. But this Atlantic Division, when it comes to goaltenders, you got 4, possibly 5 big goaltenders in the names. You got all Vezina candidates. You got Carey Price, he's 1-1. You got Bobrovsky, he's 1-1. You got Tuukka Rask. You got Andrei Vasilevsky. You got Frederik Andersen. So the Atlantic Division might be very able to compete next year. They also, like I said, Anton Strawman, good defensive pickup. And they got Noel Achari, who helped Boston get to the Stanley Cup Final last year. So Florida, after losing Luongo, and then they traded James Reimer, they acquired Scott Darling, but then they bought him out. So all they need now, I don't know if they're going to call up Montembeault for the backup. I don't know if he's still there. But they're still going to need a backup. But they did a lot of moves. They still have $5 million, I believe, in cap space. But good for them. But that's it for me, guys, for the Eastern Conference teams. Let me know down below who you think is going to be a big surprise. If not, also the who could win the Eastern Conference next year. But drop me down below what you guys think about the moves. Think about who could be a sleeper next year in the Eastern Conference. As well, who's going to be the ultimate champion in the East. That's it for me, guys. Make sure you check out the Western Conference teams. They'll be up just shortly after this video. And I'll see you guys later. Take care. Have a great day.